Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi, and it is hot out there. San Diegans are sweating through a heat wave for the next few days. KPBS reporter Thomas Fudge spoke to forecasters and some people who are trying to keep cool.
There's a heat advisory in the region for today and tomorrow, so we came down to San Diego County's waterfront park to cool off. Alicia Stearns and her toddler Scarlett had the same idea.
Because it's so hot today. So this is a perfect, way to get them in the water without it being very dangerous because it's so shallow. So she loves it.
The heat advisory is in effect for San Diego County's inland valleys and areas east of there. It follows a July of cool, below-average temperatures, a great contrast from July of last year, which was California's hottest month on record. Today and tomorrow, temperatures will be quite uncomfortable.
In the inland valleys of San Diego County, we're mostly looking at temperatures in the mid to upper 90s today, with some areas reaching 100 degrees in some of the valley areas like Ramona.
In the desert, expect temperatures that could exceed 115 degrees. Meteorologist Alex Tardy, the creator of Weather Echo, says the heat today is at its peak.
But it's going to linger into early next week. And then finally, by mid-August, when we really will want to break, it is going to break and we'll be back to cooler than normal conditions.
He says the lack of a strong heat dome in our region is one reason we've had very few monsoonal rains in our mountains and deserts. Following a dry winter, that has created good conditions for wildfires despite lower than average temperatures. But for now, it's hot in San Diego, and that's why Isabella came to the water park.
Well, the water park is so fun, and it's just because we can, swim.
The prospect of a cool August is encouraging. For now, kids will play in water parks, and adults will find ways to stay in the shade. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
Weather headlines here over the next couple days. I'm tracking sunny skies, mild and warming conditions here for majority of Southern California. Great weather overall for both your Saturday and Sunday. But after that, I'm tracking another potential heat dome developing that will strengthen and intensify as we head into the middle parts of next week. I'll detail that updated forecast coming up.
President Donald Trump's new wave of tariffs on U.S. imports took effect, raising them to levels not seen in nearly a century. But what does this mean for your wallet? Maribel Gonzalez breaks down what goods could be impacted and by how much.
President Donald Trump placed higher tariffs again on just about every country in the world.
You either partner with us or you compete with us and face tariffs.
Before today, virtually every country's goods were subject to a minimum 10% tariff. Now, about 40 countries with which the U.S. runs a trade deficit will face a 15% rate. Some, like Brazil, will even be hit with steeper rates. While Trump says tariffs will not lead to higher prices, experts say items that you come across on a daily basis, from electronics to clothing, watches to alcohol, and even toys, will now probably cost you more.
This is the largest tax increase on U.S. consumers in 3 generations.
The tariffs on Canadian goods start at a minimum of 35%, unless they are compliant with the terms of the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, in which case they face no tariffs. Still, Canadian officials say the U.S.'s northern neighbor is set to ramp up trade with other partners.
He's probably the most disliked politician in the world in Canada because he's attacked his closest family member.
With trade policy nearing a turning point, the U.S. Treasury Secretary said that the Trump administration is now focused on addressing addressing the cost of living.
We're going to be looking at what we can do for housing, for student loans, for overall, because there is an affordability crisis.
I'm Maribel Gonzalez reporting.
Think of public radio in San Diego, and our radio station, KPBS FM, probably comes to mind. But there is another public radio station in San Diego that's also facing the challenge of federal budget cuts. KPBS reporter John Carroll spent some time at KSDS Jazz 88.3 recently to listen and to learn.
Broadcasting from the campus of City College, this is member-supported KSDS San Diego. Larry Murray with you. It is Midday Jazz in the afternoon. San Diego's Jazz FM 88.3.
Tucked into the L building adjacent to Curran Plaza is a radio station that's been around since 1951. Back then, it was a student radio station. It morphed into a public radio station by the time 1973 rolled around, and in 1985, it became San Diego's only jazz and blues station.
We've been successful at keeping that for over 50 years, which is really pretty remarkable.
Ken Poston is the general manager of Jazz 88.3, so he understands, like few others, what KPBS management is dealing with, the loss of federal funds. For us, as you may know, the hit is $4.3 million, or 12% of our budget. Poston is dealing with a much smaller hit in dollars, $200,000, but a much bigger one as a percentage of the station's budget.
It's 20% of our operating budget.
All right, San Diego's Jazz 88.3.
With a hit like that, Poston and his team wasted no time in taking action to plug that hole blown into the budget.
We did a 3-day emergency fundraiser last week and got about half of it back already. So, as I suspected, I kind of felt that our listeners were loyal enough and would understand the circumstances enough that they would really step up, and they did.
Why such loyalty? Well, just like KPBS, when Jazz 88.3 listeners tune in, they know what to expect. There are a lot of things that make this place unique. One of them is that there are no playlists. All of the on-air hosts select their own music.
Here's Blossom Dearie. This is from a release called Verve Jazz Masters, number 51, and bang goes the drum. Someone tells me what to play, when to play it, or anything of that nature. So, yeah, it's really great, you know, because at this particular station, each one of us has a preference. Some like quartets, some like big bands, some likes the dance music of the 40s, and it all gets mixed in, and we all sound different.
Before the cutback in federal funding, the future of those sounds was pretty well assured. But with the cuts comes a difficult question. What if KSDS is unable to replace the lost funding? It's a question that's never far from Ken Poston's mind.
As long as we replace it, there will be no changes whatsoever, and that growth will be able to continue at the proper rate. If we were to fall short somehow, then we would have to really sit down and look at things and figure out what has to be done.
But for now, Poston says he's confident the station's listeners will come through. He says that's because they understand there's so much at stake for one of the only jazz and blues stations left in the country.
We feel very fortunate that we're able to do that, but we also feel a great deal of responsibility because we realize we're one of the last all-jazz radio stations. We have no intentions of it being anything else.
A public media organization dedicated to a special mission of preserving a uniquely American art form, an organization that is part of the reason San Diego is so special. John Carroll, KPBS News.
And it is easy to support both of your public media stations. You can just go to jazz88.org to support KSDS and kpbs.org to support us. One of the most iconic and ominous lines from George Orwell's novel 1984 is about truth. And it reads, "The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command." KPBS's Amita Sharma explores the impact of devaluing the truth on the United States today.
80% of Americans have consumed false news, and 23% say they've passed along fake stories, even though some knew they were untrue. That's from a report by the data firm Demand Sage. UC San Diego philosophy professor Gila Scher says it's too soon to say if we're living in a fully post-truth era, but she is worried that as truth goes, so goes the health of American society and democracy. Because truth, she says, is a central human value. Without it, life is without meaning, purpose, or humanity.
If you trample the value of truth, you also trample the value of justice, because you don't recognize, first, what is justice and what is injustice, and second, what is really done, whether a particular action causes suffering or doesn't cause suffering. And so there's some kind of a domino effect, and so to keep one human value, you need to keep all human values.
To stop that domino effect, Scher advocates that Google remind people of the importance of truth during searches, that people commit to examining information critically, to look to great historical figures for inspiration, to know that it's both a group effort and one each of us has to undertake.
That people, grown-ups, and parents and teachers and leaders and people with influential roles in the community will take it upon themselves to bring to the attention of the young generation how important human values are, including the human value of truth. And I think it's something that only we can do for ourselves.
Scher says democracy itself requires that people decide what is right and wrong, what is good and bad, what is the case and not the case. Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
In a whirlwind decision last night, the Imperial Beach City Council chose Councilmember Mitch McKay to serve as the city's new mayor. KPBS's Corey Suzuki says the speed of the decision didn't sit well with everyone.
The mayor's seat in Imperial Beach has been vacant for a little over 2 weeks now, after former Mayor Paloma Aguirre was sworn in as San Diego County's newest supervisor in late July. The city council had several options for choosing a replacement, including holding a special election or appointing someone after an open application process. But on Wednesday night, they decided to appoint someone immediately, Councilmember Mitch McKay.
I have no desires to undo any ordinances or any other things that we've passed in the past under different previous mayors. That's not my intent whatsoever. I want to move the city forward. I'm not looking backwards.
McKay had his share of supporters on Wednesday night, but a large number of speakers also cautioned the council against moving too quickly and urged them to allow more public input. Imperial Beach resident Rachel Orozco said she didn't think the council should make a decision immediately.
Give people the opportunity to have a voice, listen to what's going on. And if it's one of you, then let us see why. Why is it going to be one of you?
The council approved McKay's appointment on a 3-1 vote, with Councilmember Matthew Leyba Gonzalez voting against and McKay voting for himself. Like Aguirre, McKay pledged that he would focus on the cross-border sewage crisis and prioritize the impact on local businesses. He also said he has no ambitions for higher office.
I don't have any goals outside of the city of Imperial Beach. Like Jack, I'll probably die in the 91932, and I don't care. I have no desires, no designs beyond this council here.
McKay will serve out the rest of Aguirre's term, which ends in November 2026. Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
SeaWorld settled a lawsuit with the city of San Diego over its unpaid rent, and some of that money is going to park improvements. But iNewsSource reporting intern Charisse Johnson says some South Bay residents are feeling ignored.
The $8.5 million settlement comes from a Mission Bay leaseholder, so the city says it has to go to Mission Bay and San Diego Regional Capital Improvement Projects. The SeaWorld settlement funds are being distributed to 15 projects in 11 city parks, including $3.7 million for improvements at Robb Field in Ocean Beach. Montgomery Waller Community Park in Otay Mesa has been on the city's unfunded park improvements list for 28 years, but it's not eligible to receive any of the settlement money. Joanne Fouquet is the safety officer for Lucky Waller Little League. She says they've been asking for lighting improvements at the park to give kids more playing time and increase overall safety.
It feels like we've been forgotten. It's like the forgotten park like you all are because it's been here for so long.
Alberto Estrada is a member of the Otay Mesa Nestor Community Planning Group and an area resident. He feels left in the dark about why it's taking so long to get improvements.
I know it's not easy, but for Christ's sake, show some progress, figure a way to slowly but surely improve our community. I think we deserve it.
The city approved funding from development fees to pay for 19 park projects in underserved areas last year. Montgomery Waller was not on the list, but the city says they're working on finding more funding. For KPBS, I'm iNews Source reporting intern Carice Johnston.
iNews Source is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. An independent financial audit for a foundation that handles fundraising for Canyon Crest Academy is now out. KPBS reporter Alexander Wen spoke with the students whose reporting spurred the investigation.
The newly released audit is a vindication of their original findings, says Kevin Wang and Li Tongtian.
They confirmed that the foundation failed to disclose salaries under IRS Form 990s, which was what we claimed. They confirmed that their balance sheets did not line up, another one of our claims.
The pair is headed to college this month. But last year, they published a report that detailed irregularities they found with the bookkeeping at Canyon Crest Academy Foundation, or CCAF. The foundation raises and manages money for student clubs. In their report, Wang and team found that the foundation charges significantly higher fees than other school foundations in the district.
They took the 25% fee off the top of donations, and to top that, they took so long to reimburse for expenses.
Other foundations charge between 5 to 10%. After the report was published, the San Diego Union High School District ordered an independent audit of all school foundations. That audit was released this week. It found 16 issues. Some were minor, like missing memorandums of understanding between the district and the foundations. The audit also found discrepancies between CCAF's records and previously audited balances in tax returns.
That's why we think it's so important for the district to release an MOU with all the foundations, so there's a standard policy for financial reporting and for transparency.
In an email to KPBS, CCAF's president Sandra Sinsek says it has taken steps to improve and strengthen its operations. She says students and their families remain the foundation's top priority. We are proud of the work we've done with the community and remain fully committed to transparency, accountability, and continuous improvement. The CCAF has also lowered its fee to 20%. The report will be presented to the board at its meeting tonight. It is not expected to take any actions this evening. Wang and team hope the board will implement some of the auditor's recommendations. Alexander Wen, KPBS News.
The 2025-26 school year got off to a hot start for the La Mesa Spring Valley School District. Students at Fletcher Hills Elementary received a warm welcome for their first day of classes today in more ways than one. It reached as high as 97 degrees in El Cajon, and despite the heat, students came walking in with smiles.
We have a backup plan for high heat where students will eat and play indoors, from water filling stations to alternative settings for play, activities indoors. All of the smiles, the familiar faces, eager eyes. I mean, kids come back, they're ready to learn, they're excited about school, and parents are often excited to bring them back to school.
And a high heat advisory is in effect through tomorrow evening.
I'm tracking a big warm-up here as we head throughout the weekend and into early parts of next week. But overall, as we head into tonight, I'll be tracking overnight lows in the mid-60s, some clouds near the coastal areas. Temperature-wise here along the coast will be in the low to mid-60s, so it'll be a mild start here for your early Friday morning. Future track radar is showing, for the most part, some cloud coverage as the sun comes up for your early Friday. Most of the thicker cloud coverage will be well off to the south, but there will be some cloud coverage here sticking around right around midday, and then increasing cloud coverage. We'll see partly cloudy skies here for your Friday afternoon, making that drive home for the commute. But overall, it's going to be a dry forecast. All the moisture is going to stay across parts of the Four Corners and the lower Rockies, the southern Rockies here as we head near Friday afternoon. And then as we head into Saturday, lots of sunshine in store for the forecast as well. Here's the overall setup for Friday. It's going to stay hot here across pretty much all of Southern California and the Southwest. Breezier conditions will increase the fire danger for parts of Utah and Colorado, so heads up for that. Temperature-wise, you're going to see a mix of 70s and 80s here along the coastal areas, 82 there in Oceanside, 90s and triple digits here along the interior, and Borrego Springs getting up to 113 there for your Friday afternoon. Heading into Saturday, the heat is going to slowly start to work its way off to the east, but it's still going to stay dry and it's still going to stay warm here across Southern California heading throughout the weekend. Here's a look at your updated extended 5-day outlook for the coastal areas. We'll see lots of sunshine, temperatures in the 80s for Friday, but then after that, temperatures will start to drop off just a little bit here. We'll make it to the mid-70s here by the early parts of next week. Inland forecast will stay in the 90s for the next couple of days. Take a little bit of a dip there on Monday before we rebound, but we'll be in the upper 80s, low 90s here as we head in the early parts of next week. Mountain forecast, temperatures in the 80s for Friday, dipping back into the 70s heading into the weekend. Looks like we'll see some more 80s by about midweek. And in the desert, we'll see temperatures topping off Friday, but we'll also see some warming conditions as we head into the early parts of next week.
Most people look forward to retirement, but imagine being in your 90s and still working every day because there's hardly anybody left who can do what you do. Ken Kramer found a man with a long history in our county who was still in demand and still making house calls around and about San Diego.
The pastoral English countryside, driving as we are on the left of the road, of course. Now, I want you to picture this same scene in England, only it's like sometime in the 1950s. It was said that if you had a happy frame of mind and the weather was reasonably kind, England was a beautiful place to go driving. Just one thing to remember.
Get a good car. That's the secret of it.
There you are, a good motor car and basic. Oh, you had your Austins, Land Rovers, and Jaguars, but the Morris Minor was the popular choice. A little fuddy-duddy maybe, but charmingly simple, and really all the vehicle a sensible person needed.
In England, the Morris Minor was the main transportation way back in the late 50s, 60s.
Now, bear with me here, because I know England is a long way from San Diego, and so does Dennis Tolley.
Switches, mirrors.
Because 60 years ago, he made the trip and showed up here with a growing family and a ton of mechanical knowledge about the Morris Minor and a lot of other British cars from so far away.
And one place was asking for looking for a good mechanic. So I went there on Monday morning, and after a slight conference with him, they say, when can you start?
Soon enough, he owned something that could never be on such prime real estate today. His own repair shop was right at 7th and G. But in the simpler days of the 1960s, a big part of San Diego's downtown was car dealerships and garages.
Yeah, there was at least 6 or 8 repair places like mine right in the downtown area.
Eventually moved the shop to Lemon Grove, more than 40 years there, where he became a bit of a local celebrity because he drove a little Morris Minor truck. You see it there? Top speed, maybe 30 miles an hour.
That's great.
Okay, fast forward to when we caught up with him. Doesn't have the shop anymore, but do you know what he's hung on to? Parts. Car parts.
The Morris Minor parts. All these are pistons for the engines.
And now, going on 92 years old, he is sometimes the only source for them.
People call me and, do you have this part? Do you have that part? Because they're no longer available in some cases.
Not much need for some of them. Been years and years, but he's got them just in case.
Like this part here is the front gear, out of the gear transmission. And you can't get one of these, you know.
Points, condensers, ignition parts, service manuals.
I have cylinder heads. I have cylinder blocks. I have camshafts and crankshafts. And all those parts, if somebody needs them, I've got them.
Yes, and when he has a moment, that is a transmission he's rebuilding on his workbench. But there's something else about Dennis Tolley. You see, this man, born during the reign of George V, who majored in the Morris Minor and has his MD in the MG, still does make house calls. In his 10th decade, he was still going out on home visits in the same little British truck from his San Diego repair shop days. Well, with a new, faster freeway engine. In its simplicity, his Morris Minor pickup is trustworthy, well-founded, and reliable as an old friend who makes house calls. Those parts back in Dennis's garage, who knows if one or two might come in handy today. The patient you see is a little MG belonging to Jim McIndoe.
I'll hold it while you catch it. That truck is well known. My neighbor, they all like coming over here watching what Dennis is doing. What miracle he performs next. This hose was a little loose the last time we checked it, and we want to tighten it up. And I have friends that are car people, and they're legendary with Dennis because they call him all the time for advice. It's looking real good. It's nice and tight. It's not leaking in any way. Not leaking in any way, so we're back to normal now.
And so it goes. In his 90s, Dennis Tolley, from a simpler time, I guess, when you didn't have to be a computer-savvy diagnostician. No, if you knew what you were doing with just a few tools, you could fix a car.
He's a treasure. That's looking good.
But it's that know what you're doing thing. Who will take his place? Where is the Dennis Tolley to work on an MG or a Morris Minor, say, 20 years from now?
I have no idea. I don't know.
When he's gone, that's it. He's very likely the last of a kind. And what about that? This story, his reputation for sure, will outlive him. What would be his epitaph? Like everything else, he keeps it simple.
Well, here lies an old mechanic. Long gone.
Dennis Tolley, who spent most of a lifetime keeping those little British cars running, and not a minor point, made a lot of friends around and about San Diego.
And for more of Ken Kramer's stories about San Diego, you can watch his half-hour show every Thursday night at 8 o'clock right here on KPBS. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.